Reverend Jackson, can you please start and tell us what brings you here and what's the motivation for being here today?
Roseland is a community-based hospital. Certain people in this area would otherwise be in a health desert were not in this hospital. That's one reason. Second, too many African-American people children suspicion over science, and they're not taking the vaccine. That's the other. The reason why we can't be the first to die from it and the last to take the vaccine twice, and the last and abuse. The reason why, number one, you live where we are now, get the bus from the L track, L subway, another bus to go in where they 3 or 4 times a day we change buses, one way. You can't be real social distance on the buses on the way to something. That's the thing. But we live 3 generations in one house, right, married, parent and child. And on the insured. We end up in the hospital too late with preconditions. So we were mindful of this situation. Mindful of the Tuskegee experiment, which was done by all white racist doctors in 1932. So that is the military. We also couldn't vote at that time. Political experiment. We couldn't play ball on the experiment. Couldn't go to school, Alabama. I talked to Dr. Fauci, he said, an African-American doctor, the lead scientist on the vaccine, Dr. Corbert. Well, here because she represents the science of the matter, the authority of the matter. Cannot compare the Tuskegee experiment with what we're doing today. The global pandemic affecting everybody everywhere. So I want to express my thanks to Dr. Corbett for coming out here today and being with us. Give us a sense of what the challenges are, what this means to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. So first of all, I am very gracious to be here in Chicago. I was looking at my travel log, and I have been to Chicago every single year since my sophomore year in college, except last year, because it happens to be my favorite city in the United States, mostly because of the food. And except for last year, because obviously we are living in a pandemic and times are different. And so, although times are different and these are very different circumstances for me to be invited back to Chicago, I am extremely happy to be here. And when Dr. Fauci calls, you go. So that's one thing, and it's very rare that he calls, but he did call to say that Reverend Jackson was interested in taking the vaccination and wanted my presence there, really out of support, which I wholeheartedly support this, but then also to make a statement to the community surrounding this hospital, how important it is to be vaccinated in these times. I think as of yesterday, there is 1 person dying in the United States from COVID-19 every 2 minutes. We actually in our communities are taking the brunt of the burden of those cases and of those deaths. And it is without a doubt that a vaccination is one of, if not the only, at this time, way out of this type of situation. And as Reverend Jackson said, there is tons of misinformation around the vaccine, largely because we have just never been so privileged to be so intimate with the scientific process. And so that's why I'm here, because I serve as a scientific lead under the directorship of Anthony Fauci and his institute in the laboratory of Dr. Barney Graham, where I've worked there for 6 years, working on coronaviruses. And much of the technology and understanding that I have done over the 6 years of being used in this vaccine, including my hands in designing particularly the Moderna candidate and helping to develop the Moderna candidate. And so I am very happy to be here and to answer any questions that people might have around the scientific process, what my role is, the data that comes from the vaccines, and really how vaccines work and to dispel any myths that we all might have. And I understand, outside looking in, that this process has been very fast, but I assure you, having been one of the people that woke up on January the 11th of last year to help to design this vaccine, and essentially working nonstop since then, that not a step was missed, no integrity was compromised, and no irresponsibility in this process has happened. And I'm very happy to be here again. And thank you, Reverend Jackson, for inviting me. And to all of you guys, thank you as well.